How to prepare for Kilimanjaro's high altitude. Mount Kilimanjaro's extreme altitude is the primary hurdle for reaching the summit. If you acclimatize well, then there's a high probability that you will be successful in getting to the top. It begs the question, how does one prepare for Kilimanjaro's high altitude? I'm Kevin with Ultimate Kilimanjaro, and in this video, I'll discuss what you can do to boost your acclimatization and increase your chances of reaching the summit safely and successfully. Genetics and acclimatization. First, let's take 1 minute and talk about acclimatization. The word acclimatization means the process of becoming accustomed to a change in the environment. So that could mean temperature, light, or pressure. But in mountaineering, when we say acclimatization, we are referring to altitude. At high altitude, our body goes through a series of adaptations to counter the reduced oxygen in the air. How your body acclimatizes is the biggest factor in determining how you perform on Kilimanjaro. So here's the good and bad news. The ability to acclimatize to altitude is largely genetic. So it's quite possible, or even probable, that a couch potato who acclimatizes proficiently would have an easier time climbing Kilimanjaro than a world-class athlete who acclimatizes poorly. Some people are simply born with the greater ability to function at altitude. As the Kilimanjaro success rates show, some people can climb Kilimanjaro in as little as 5 days, while some still fail with 8 or 9 days. It's impossible to tell how well a prospective climber may fare in an oxygen-deprived atmosphere until he or she is actually in it. That being said, acclimatization is not 100% genetic, so there are things you can do to improve your performance at altitude. The following guidelines are recommended to achieving acclimatization while on the mountain. Number 1. Ascend slowly. Your guides will set a slow pace throughout the climb. Because it takes time to acclimatize, your elevation gain should be gradual. Statistically, each additional day spent on the mountain generally increases your chances of getting to the top by about 20%. Number 2. Don't overexert yourself. Mild exercise may help altitude acclimatization, but strenuous activity may promote altitude sickness. It's important to be properly trained for the route you intend to climb so that you aren't exhausted at the end of the day. Number 3. Climb high, sleep low. This is an old adage of mountaineering. It means you should climb to a higher altitude during the day, then sleep at a lower altitude at night. Most of our Kilimanjaro routes comply with this principle and include optional acclimatization hikes, but some routes are better than others. Number 4. Eat and drink enough. It's recommended that you drink 4 to 5 liters of fluid per day. Also, eat a high-calorie diet while at altitude, even if your appetite is diminished. Number 5. Use Diamox. The FDA-approved drug is effective for the prevention and treatment of acute mountain sickness. Number 6. Avoid tobacco, alcohol, and other depressant drugs. These further decrease the respiratory drive during sleep, resulting in a worsening of altitude sickness. Number 7. Know when to descend. If you begin to show symptoms of moderate altitude sickness, don't go higher if your symptoms don't decrease. If symptoms get worse, descend. You can also prepare for high altitude before you arrive in Tanzania. The number 1 thing you should do to prepare for Kilimanjaro's altitude is to be in the best physical shape possible. By being in excellent fitness, the rigors of hiking and recovery over consecutive days will cause less stress on your body. Then, the body can focus most of its energy towards acclimatization. In other words, your body has limited resources. The more resources it can use for acclimatization versus other things, the easier the process will be. While there is no correlation between physical fitness and the occurrence of altitude sickness, a fit, healthy body will always be better prepared to handle environmental stress than an unhealthy one. When you're not fit, the wear and tear from hiking and camping, dealing with the weather and altitude, and everything else may be too much for your body to handle all at once. So focus on your training, first and foremost, before thinking about what else to do to mitigate the effects of altitude. Stay at higher altitude. If you live at high altitude, consider yourself fortunate. You already have a base of acclimatization for the elevation you reside. To add on top of it, you can regularly hike to even higher places. This schedule can get your body familiar with lower oxygen levels and would be excellent for building long-term acclimatization for Kilimanjaro. But for those of us who live at or near sea level, you may need to travel for high altitude exposure. Note that a short stay at high elevation would probably not directly improve your acclimatization for Kilimanjaro, unless it's done immediately or within a few days before your climb, but it's still worth doing. Having some experience at high altitude is better than having none. Therefore, if you can visit a mountain town or elevated region while preparing for Kilimanjaro, I encourage it. The higher the altitude, the longer the stay, and the more active you are, the more you'll learn about how your body responds to a hypoxic environment. Use altitude training systems. Everyone can benefit from using an altitude training system to pre-acclimatize to high altitude. High altitude training systems enable climbers to pre-acclimatize at home, drastically improving the success rate, safety, and enjoyment of the climb. It works by reducing the percentage of oxygen in the air you breathe, simulating high altitude. This induces biological adaptations in the body to cope with the lower oxygen level. Besides going to and staying in high altitude places, using an altitude training system is the only way to pre-acclimatize before your trip. Without pre-acclimatization, as climbers ascend on Kilimanjaro, their bodies respond with short-term adaptations. These quick response adaptations are meant primarily to prevent sickness and allow for some semblance of normal cardiovascular and muscular performance in an oxygen-deprived environment. Pre-acclimatization through altitude training systems produces long-term adaptations, such as an increase in red blood cells, blood volume, and the efficiency of oxygen absorption. These adaptations help reduce the incidence of acute mountain sickness, increase performance, and increase recovery on the mountain. In short, pre-acclimatization is very beneficial. It's like getting a head start or lowering the mountain. In fact, nearly 100% of our clients who have used an altitude training system have successfully summited Kilimanjaro. If you're interested in using an altitude training system, please click the link in the description below to see our recommended provider. Realistically, we understand that unless you already live at altitude, pre-acclimatization is very inconvenient and/or expensive. Most of our clients do not make special plans to travel to high altitude or use an altitude training system, regardless of how helpful it may be. So if you can't pre-acclimatize, don't worry. Our itineraries, especially those that are 8 days or more, are designed so that the average person can make it to the top without any prior high altitude exposure. Just put an honest effort into your training before you arrive and then follow our acclimatization guidelines while on the mountain. Visit us at ultimatekilimanjaro.com for more information on conquering Africa's highest peak. Please like and subscribe for more videos on climbing Kilimanjaro. I'll see you on the summit.